G'day and welcome to another Pokemon Go video. So today I'm going to do something slightly differently. So with the Master League component of Season 1 coming to a close, I thought I'd show a few of my memorable PvP matches that sort of go down to the wire. So we'll kick this off and jump straight into the first one. So as you can see, running Giratina up the front, and we've got the Giratina mirror here. So I'm pretty lucky with my Giratina as it's 100%, so go straight in. Always charge up to the Shadow Ball. They've thrown first, so I block that, shield that up. They've thrown the Ominous Wind bait, which is fine, so I'll attack a couple of more times, and then throw the same thing. So throw the Ominous Wind, we'll see what they do. So they will shield it up as well, they usually do, and then drop straight into the next Ominous Wind. Let's see what they do. Again, most of the time this mirror match results in both sides using both of their shields and leaving the match open for the rest of it, so it does make things interesting. And then it's down to a race to see who can get to the end first. So they've actually beaten me to the charge move there, which surprises me, but somehow I managed to get to mine as well, which is very nice. So Ominous Wind down here, and managed to win the lead match. They then throw in Dialga, who won Dragon Breath, and I'm out of there as well. So let's jump straight in. So then we've got the Dialga versus Dialga mirror match. So we're waiting for this to hit, and I'm waiting, and it's the Iron Head, so I'm really quite happy with that. I was expecting it to be the Draco. It wasn't, so it gave me a chance, well, gave me time to get to the Draco media, and then I Draco'd their Dialga. They then throw up the Melmetal, and Melmetal versus the Metagross, running Earthquake, so happy days for me. So the double mirror to lead that off, and then wondering what was going to be in the back was what made this match memorable. Thankfully, they had something that, well, they had the Melmetal in the back, so it let me take that victory, and they actually ended up quitting just before that charge move went through. And I managed to pull off the win there. So that was match 1. So we'll jump into my second match. So again, leading with Giratina, and coming up against an unfavourable lead. So I've thought about swapping out, and then I've just committed to it. If I had have swapped out there, they would have swapped out straight back. So I've gone for straight up Shadow Ball. Let's see. So I draw the shield, which is good, but not ideal. Get a little bit of lag there, but manage to. So I don't manage to get to my my second charge move. Bring in the Metagross, expecting them to swap out, which they don't. So instead they throw their charge move, Flamethrower, and then I farm down. So for this one I don't use my charge move, because that would be wasting the energy. I just farm completely down. So they throw out Rhyperior. I go straight into the medium mash and draw their second shield. I farm down enough to go straight into a second medium mash, so that lets me throw that. So after losing that lead match, I managed to come back and win the second match, and then I've got Dialga in the back. They've got Dialga in the back, they've got Snorlax in the back, and I've got my Dialga to match that. having a shield advantage. Here's where I'm wondering, are they going to... are they baiting or are they going to wreck? So they baited there with the body slam, and I'm just hoping to get to the Draco, and I didn't. So they've pulled the trigger, and what have they got? So there's the superpower, so it does a whole lot of damage there, and I was able to get to the Draco Meteor before they threw their second superpower, which would have taken me out. So very close for them throwing that second charge move, and that would have cost me the game. So that's game number 2. After losing that lead matchup quite significantly, managed to pull back the win. So for this one, leading with the Giratina into the Snorlax, that's never good. So I've swapped out into the Metagross. Now this is questionable if they are running Earthquake. So really got to think about the shield here. So don't go the shield and they superpower me. So what normally happens here is they superpower and then they switch out. So this one didn't switch out. So I threw the Meteor Mash here. I get a shield here, which is interesting. So I'm going for the Meteor Mash. So I decide to shield up this next one, and it is another superpower. So now I throw my Meteor Mash. I'm really surprised that they're staying in, but it's interesting to see because they must have something weak in the back. So they've shielded up a second time, which is really interesting, and then they've swapped out into the Dialga. So I know that they've got the Snorlax in the back, which will absolutely wreck my so they've gone the Thunder there. So big call not to shield that one up. So instead, what I'm going to do is Draco here, which in hindsight they were in range of the Iron Head, so I really should have just Iron Headed them there, and then I wouldn't have lost my attack. So I've then got Snorlax and an Unknown. So this is really not ideal for me. So for this, I will let it go. Let's see what they throw. So throwing the Heavy Slam, so that doesn't do much damage. So this is looking really bad, and right here I'm considering, well, do I just quit this one out? Because obviously I've got a Snorlax here that absolutely walls me. I've only got ghost moves, but I've also got, so let's see, so I got to the next charge move, so I decided to shield this one up. Let's see what it is. Another Heavy Slam, but all that chip damage is going to add up. So for this, I decide I need to over farm here, so I have enough to throw when the next one comes out. So over farm there a bit, throw the Shadow Ball, and it's enough to take it out. And then Mewtwo comes out, so I'm so low. And that over-farmed energy allows me to get to the Shadow Ball before Mewtwo gets to the Psy Strike, and it one-shots that Mewtwo in the back there. So that's absolutely insane. Going toe-to-toe with that Snorlax V Giratina, and then managed to take out a full health Mewtwo in the back there as well. So that was absolutely, I was really happy with that win there. So again, leading out here, so leading with the Giratina into the Melmetal. So a real favourable lead for me. Interesting that they're not swapping out. Usually they'll stay in and throw a Rock Slide and then dive out. So for this one, I swapped out into the Dialga. So this is a questionable move here. Usually Snorlax are running with Superpower or Earthquake, which are both going to absolutely destroy Dialga. So I decide to risk it here. So I shield this first one up, thinking it's going to be the superpower. it isn't. It's Outrage, and so that's completely taken me by surprise. Not expecting the Snorlax to have Outrage, so I decided to commit to the farm down, and I did not make it in time. So I don't shield this up because obviously, and it's going to be, well, I thought it was going to be another Outrage and that would be resisted. It wasn't, so they've managed to get me down to very, very little health. So they've got their next attack coming, so I'm thinking, what do I do? What do I do? Do I shield? So I decide not to shield, and they rock slide me. So that's taken me out there. Now, the question is, I'm going to go in with my Giratina, so I've decided to Shadow Ball here. Throw straight up Shadow Ball, let's see what they do. So do they shield or do they leave it? So they've left it, so that's a massive, massive leave there. So they're going to rock slide me here, which is absolutely fine. It will do a little bit of damage, but it doesn't do much. It's definitely a losing matchup for them. And then they've got a Garchomp here. So I'm unsure what to do here. So I go for the Ominous Wind, but we tie. So I decide to throw up a shield and see what I get. It is the Outrage, so that would have KO'd. So happy days that I decided to throw the Ominous Wind. So, and that also means that they probably think I'm throwing the Shadow Ball because I've committed a shield to it. So this time I then throw the Shadow Ball straight after, and they don't shield it. So that's really good for me. And then I switch in to my Metagross. So if they're not running Earthquake, I'm in with a chance. So they're running Sand Tomb, which is super effective and drops my defense, but it means that I have a chance. So they're going to Sand Tomb me again, which is going to drop me even further. So I'll be able to KO this. And they swap out. So that's when I Earthquake. And they shielded that, which is fine. So for this to go through, they're saving, and then they're going to Rock Slide here, which is fine. So at that range, it's going to take me out, and then I've got a slither of health. So a little bit more than a slither of health for my Giratina, and so this Rock Slide is going to take me very, very low. So it takes me almost to KO, so I commit to the farm down, and then tap like crazy on that charge move, knowing that they're going to come in with very, very low health. And thankfully I was able to throw the Ominous Wind before they could fast move farm me down. So spends ages charging up there, and they've got a slither of health. And just to rub salt into the wound, I got the boost with that last Ominous Wind, which is just hilarious. So throwing out those combinations. So the Garchomp is not what I was expecting, but managed to get the win there, which I was really happy for. So into the next one again, a very, very unfavourable lead for me, so I switch straight out. So there is a bit of lag there, so I actually take a few extra hits. So I switch into my own Snorlax, and the reason for this is because you can threaten superpower. So then they switch into their Togekiss, which would be a very, very bad matchup for me, for both my Giratina and my Dialga. So it's all right against Dialga if you have, if shields are down and you are able to get the Iron Head off, because obviously that does huge amounts of damage, but very unfavourable when in a match with shields. So started the match in a really big disadvantage against Giratina versus Snorlax, and then switched. So managed to switch into the Snorlax and go from there. So didn't shield that one up, and I'm just trying to spam and get as much damage as I can on this Togekiss. So it shielded that last one up, which is good. So now I've got the shield advantage. So I go back into my Giratina to farm up So I massively take the gamble there, and they were unfortunately able to get to another charge move. It is the Aerial Ace, so it doesn't do a huge amount, so I've still got the shield advantage. So they're obviously going to bring in their Snorlax straight away, so I swap out and go to my Dialga. I decide to throw the shield because they will have energy charged, and it's the Earthquake, so correctly shielded that one there. Now we're equal shields, and I've contemplating, do I shield this up? And pretty quick decision there, shield that up, let's see what they've got. And they've thrown a second Earthquake, which is just insane. So for this one, I have a think, and then I throw the Iron Head, because that's going to do a whole lot of neutral damage to the Snorlax and takes it down. And so then they swap out, which is interesting. So they swap into a Landorus, and this is the first time I've seen a Landorus, which is hilarious. So I decide to throw this move to get my countdown clock a little bit more time, and then I decide to switch out and throw my Shadow Ball with the Giratina, just because obviously Landorus is an absolute beast against Dialga. So we actually CMP tied there, and I managed to get the Shadow Ball off. They used Earth Power, which doesn't quite take me out, which is hilarious. And then they get in there. The Snorlax comes in, and then my Dialga comes in to farm it out. So some absolutely insane switching there, because the Landorus is an absolute beast against the Dialga. So they were the matches, and then this last match again, I've got my Giratina up against the Togekiss, and so at this point I've realized if I throw a Shadow Ball, then I don't get enough time to throw my next charge move, so I go straight for the Ominous Wind there. They're going to throw their move, and it's going to be probably an Ancient Power, which it is, and then that gives me time to throw a second Ominous Wind here, which means that I usually get the shield on this second one, and then I get a boost, so it doesn't really help me out too much. It gets me a little bit of extra damage there, which possibly helps. And then I switch into my Snorlax and start farming down. So I tried to throw my charge move, but it looks like we CMP tied, and they won the CMP tie. So obviously I'm not going to shield that up because it's not going to do much damage to the Snorlax. And then I throw my own charge move, which is unfortunate because I would have liked to farm down a little bit more, but that's fine. And then they bring in the Metagross, which makes me think that they've got something pretty weak to Snorlax in the back. So I'm not going to shield this up because I wasn't sure if it would be enough to take me out. So the interesting thing is here, I've got one shield. Are they going to throw the Earthquake? And they did. So they threw the Earthquake there. So unfortunately, again, I CMP tied. So I would have liked to not thrown that charge move straight away. I did get the shield, which is interesting. And so then it's a race to see if they can get to Earthquake or if I can get to my charge move before them. So they've swapped out here, and so no shield, so they Ominous Wind me, which makes me think they've, and then so I overfarm a lot there to try and save for when the Metagross comes back in. So I'm just absolutely spamming the charge move there, and managed to get that charge move by over farming on the Giratina. So that worked out really well for me, and managed to pull that one in. So a few matches there that were Landorus was very, very good switching, so got that switch off in time, and then a couple there were coming from behind victory, so real bad matchups for me to start with, and then managing to pull back a win, which is really good. And then my Landorus, so this is the best Landorus I've managed to get as a reward. If you're wondering about the excellent throws, I have done a video, so I'll put a link there, and you can have a look at that video, how to improve your excellent throws, because I'm sort of okay at them, I guess. You can be the judge. I've got some other videos and about raid bosses, and this one you can see, so hit the excellent there, which is good. Fully expecting this to jump out, which it does. Usually takes a few, so throw the silver pineapps. I do like the silver pineapps because obviously these are not going to flee, and a little bit of extra candy on the legendaries is very, very handy. So always like to throw the silver pineapps if I've got a few balls to be able to throw. At the moment, as you can see, I'm actually running a bit low on inventory, and that's due to not being able to spin many stops. So like I said, check out the video on how to improve your excellent curveballs. But there are some of my some of the memorable PvP matches that I've had. Some that are, well, very close. There's a lot of the other videos that I've shown on the channel. My sets of 5 have videos that I really like, and managed to hit the excellent there as well, which is good. Have games that were absolutely outstanding. So check out some of those other videos. So there's a few that I went 5-0 in groups, which is really, really good. So I'll link those as well. But that's the end of the Master League for Season 1. So we're now jumping into, well, pick whatever league you like, and I'm sure we'll get some more interesting battles. So I managed to, I'm in rank 9 in the 2600s, so let's be honest, there's not much chance that I'm ever going to get to, well, I'm not getting to rank 10 in Season 1, which is absolutely fine. I was happy to get to rank 9, that was sort of my goal. Got to rank 9 in the pre-season, wanted to get to rank 9 again. Would have obviously loved to get to rank 10, but yeah, not to be. So that was my a few of the videos that haven't been shown on this channel before, and a few of the memorable ones. So hopefully they were interesting for someone. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.